Hello everyone, with Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, August 3, 2026. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize a progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we need to take a look at some expert insight here from Andy Hazelton. If you don't know who this is, he's actually an associate scientist at the University of Miami, who from time to time makes some very accurate posts about what's expected across the Atlantic in terms of tropical cyclone activity. And he made a post today stating some of our sub-seasonal models like long range GFS now extend out to the peak of Atlantic hurricane season. Not a huge surprise, but the record El Nino looks to be completely dominating even at Atlantic peak climatology, with rising motion concentrated in the Pacific, shear ripping across the Atlantic, and high pressure across the board. On individual members, there's no clear signal for any uptick in activity. I'm sure we'll get another few storms at some point, but all signs point to this being the quietest Atlantic season since 2015, and quite possibly on par with 2013 and some of the other historically quiet seasons. And these are the maps that he has highlighted. We're going to go through them one by one. This map actually shows the rising air. The greens, as you know, represents rising air. Green means go for tropical systems. The reds mean stop, so sinking air. And we see a lot of sinking air. For reference, we have Africa right here. We have India right here. We have the Indian Ocean. We have the far western Pacific. And we also have Africa right here, western portion of Africa, and the main development region that sends us all of these tropical systems. But look at where the rising air is located, especially across the eastern to the central Pacific. And we know a lot that has to do with the El Nino that we have, the very warm sea surface temperatures across the eastern to the central Pacific. This causes more greens here, so we have more rising air, more clouds becoming thunderstorms, more thunderstorms becoming tropical depressions, tropical storms, hurricanes. So this is what's expected as we head into 12Z on Sunday, September 6, or let's say 7 p.m. on Saturday, September 5. So as we head into the first week of September, we're still going to be seeing this kind of pattern, more systems trying to form across the eastern to the central Pacific rather than everywhere else. And some of you may be wondering, what about these greens across the Caribbean? For reference, we have Jamaica right here into the Gulf and Central America. Don't pay that any mind at all. I mean, if you really want to see things really happening, it would have to be centered either to the east of us or directly on top of us with the darkest greens. So nothing is going to be happening in terms of tropical development, not to mention rainfall, unfortunately. So clearly most of these tropicals that are going to be coming off of Africa are going to be struggling as they push westward. If anything, it's more than likely when they get into the western Caribbean or the western Gulf, that's when they would have a chance to develop. If not, definitely across the eastern to the central Pacific and even the western Pacific. We've seen how the western Pacific has, been crazy. Lots of typhoons. We have a lot of rising air to the east of there. All of these are going to be pushing westward. So even though you see sinking air across the far western Pacific, they're still going to be getting systems. I mean, I've seen active years where we have all of the rising air across Africa, and we have some oranges and reds across the Caribbean, and we still get some crazy systems pushing from east to west because the ridge of high pressure is sending all of these systems from east to west. So although we have all of the rising air here, expect that it's going to be pushing westward into the western Pacific. You also see another map right here showing the wind shear. We see the whites into the blues represents little to no wind shear at all, while the yellows into the oranges and reds represent a lot of wind shear. And we see Jamaica right here, and we see a lot of upper level wind shear expected across the Caribbean into the main development region. The wind shear is responsible for tearing the tops of these thunderstorms off, making them hard to develop, not to mention to stay alive, to bring us the rainfall from the tropical waves, unfortunately. And we see that heading up all the way into the first week of September, and we have the peak of Atlantic hurricane season. And even the ensembles, we know when we have yellows into the oranges and lots of numbers, we have possible systems forming, and we see that clearly the majority of the activity is going to be across the eastern Pacific, not much of anything across the Atlantic. No complaints, we don't want any hurricanes. And then we have another map right here showing where we have a lot of high pressure, all of these whites into the oranges. Is this orange? Either way, a lot of high pressure. So when we have high pressure, we have more heat, more sunshine, more strong winds. When we have low pressure in the blues, we have more systems trying to form, and we see a lot of that across the eastern Pacific right here. I hope I really did good with explaining all of this. If you haven't been following Andy Hazelton, you need to follow him on X. He makes some very accurate posts, and long range as it might be, it's definitely accurate. I'm sure that when we head into the first week of September, we're still going to be seeing a lot of systems formulating in the eastern to the central Pacific rather than in the Atlantic. Taking a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook that just came out at 7:07 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 6:07 p.m. Jamaica time. As you can see, tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, and this is the reason why across the Atlantic, nothing trying to develop to acquire the next name on the list at this time. Just see a frontal system of the east coast of the U.S. extending down to Cuba, the Bahamas, Florida, bring some decent rainfall to the areas over there. Tropical wave right here of the western portions of Africa. Nothing crazy trying to acquire the next name on the list, which is Cristobal. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see the broken orange lines associated with the trough that was frontal system. Tropical wave, there's actually a tropical wave across the central Caribbean extending down into northwestern Venezuela. There's another tropical wave right here across the main development region just to the west of the Cabo Verde Islands, definitely intertwined with the red line that's associated with the intertropical convergence zone that extends from northeastern South America all the way over into the west coast of Africa. And we see the usual ridge of high pressure to the north that we know is responsible for sending all of these easterly trade winds across the main development region to the Caribbean. And we see the broken orange lines right here to the north, just to the east of the high pressure dome associated with some troughs. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost the sunlight, and make out the clouds associated with trough extending down into the Bahamas, Florida, Cuba, we can kind of make out the clouds associated with the troughs right here extending up into the Azores. Ridge of high pressure to the north. North is responsible for sending all of these low to mid-level clouds across the Caribbean. We see that fast movement of the clouds to the south of Hispaniola and Jamaica. There's supposedly a tropical wave right here, but boy, do you even see the clouds associated with it? I think I can make out the clouds right here across sections of Venezuela into eastern Colombia, pushing from east to west. But boy, where are the tropical wave clouds here across the Caribbean? So dry, upper level wind shear, tearing the thunderstorms off. I think the tropical wave is trying to do something with some daytime heating clouds across sections of Hispaniola, pushing into Haiti. And there's supposedly another tropical wave right in here, but we can mainly see the clouds associated with the tropical wave squashed to the south, associated with the intertropical convergence zone. If you don't know, the intertropical convergence zone is where all of the air from the northern hemisphere meets the air from the southern hemisphere. So we just naturally have clouds trying to rise in this part of the world, becoming thunderstorms. And we can see that there's not much else happening across the Atlantic. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Monday, August 3, 2026. It was stated that rain could have been in the forecast at sections of some northwestern parishes in Jamaica on Monday afternoon. And we know that northwestern parishes we're talking about anywhere from Hanover, close to St. James into Trelawney, and western, maybe sections of Westmoreland getting in on some of the action. So basically these parishes right here, Westmoreland to Hanover, St. James, Trelawney. And what ended up happening? In the morning, we made a post highlighting that it was sunny in the halfway tree area at around 7:30 a.m. See Jamaica's YouTube channel live camera. You can see the people walking about, going about their business, and their shadows casted by the sunshine. We can also see another post that was made. Shockingly, we had some decent rainfall that affected sections of Portland in the 8:34 a.m. time frame. We didn't see that on the forecast maps at all, but we had a blob of rainfall just to the north of the island pushing from east west. Some of the rainfall affected sections of Portland, just some moderate rainfall, nothing crazy. Then by afternoon, the infrared close-up satellite images were posted not only here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, but they were also posted on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you cannot afford to miss. So you can see the clouds bring some amount of isolated thunderstorms. A section of the northwest, so sections of Hanover into Westmoreland right here, section of St. James into Trelawney. That was where we had some amount of isolated thundershower activity in the northwestern parishes, just as predicted. And if we take a look at the visible close-up satellite images of Jamaica right here, you can see what really took place. Yes, the thunderstorms in the northwest, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James into Trelawney. But look at that, at the beginning of it, I think I saw something right here across maybe far northern Clarendon into northwest St. Catherine. Something was trying to, if not maybe some isolated shores across inland areas of some central parishes, but quickly died down, and the focus was on the thunderstorms in the northwest. And if we take a look at the infrared, we can see what really took place. The clouds right here, I think I even see a burst of convection. Yes, definitely right there. See the quick burst of convection in northwest St. Catherine, northeastern Clarendon. We had some activity across just some inland areas of some central parishes, but clearly the brunt of the activity took place in the northwest, so Trelawney into St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland for sure, just as predicted. And we have the Jamaican Doppler radar imagery confirming. Look at that, it's confirming where we had the rainfall in central Jamaica. We know the Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall, and we can see the greens into the yellows and oranges across far northwest St. Catherine, northeastern Clarendon, and we also see the rainfall across the cockpit country, spilling into sections of Westmoreland, St. James, Trelawney, into sections of Hanover for sure. Just some moderate, even some slightly heavy rainfall over there. And the live camera from See Jamaica's YouTube channel is showing what took place in the Montego Bay St. James area. As you can see, we have people walking about, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business. At 15:50 hours, that's 3:50 p.m. we can see that it was definitely overcast. Nothing into a bad weather taking place in Montego Bay, but sections of St. James might have gotten in some of the rainfall associated with the clouds. And if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. We have these live streams all for you to view for free, so subscribe today to this channel so that you don't miss out. And even the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours is showing where we had that rainfall today across the northwest and even across the northwestern portion of St. Catherine to northeastern Clarendon. Sometimes this map can be accurate, sometimes not, and it even shows the rain bands to the north of Portland and St. Mary right in here. And we have a few comments that came in from some of our followers about what the weather is like in their area today. On our Facebook page, we have Joan McLean Powell posting 53 minutes ago. Giant South, St. Elizabeth, please rain, please, oh my. We also have on our Instagram page, Marlon_OneGod_ posting 10 hours ago. Sunny in Clarendon. We also have Know Me Without God posting 9 hours ago. Some breeze, what just done blow like a storm outside. I had to wake me up, I have to come check your page to see what going on. Okay, so I'm guessing you must have been, if not in Portland, more than likely St. Mary. And then we have Marlon stating, I must joke thing. Why is it joke thing, Marlon? Remember, it was predicted that it would have been affecting northwestern Jamaica, not Clarendon at all. So not joke thing at all. It's El Nino, dry and hot. That's what's expected this year. Just like 2015, just like maybe 2013. Just gonna be hot and dry. And Marlon stating 21 minutes ago, dry like one, most definitely. And we have a comment here on our YouTube community platform from Chirac Baby 3492 who posted 19 minutes ago, not a rain. Thank you all for confirming what the weather is like in your area for today. Alright, so let us reload the very latest still image here from the Weather News website, the latest Jamaican Doppler radar imagery, the latest Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar imagery, and the latest Cayman radar. We want to see exactly what's taking place across the island right now. Alright, so the latest still image here from the Weather News website. Well, latest still image here from the Weather News website right here is showing 2345 UTC, which is actually 6:45 p.m. So this just came out 10 minutes ago, considering that it is 6:55 p.m. right now. As you can see, just some leftover clouds across Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James into Trelawney. We see that's associated with the convection burst that we had earlier, but it's dying down to the low end of the scale in terms of rain clouds. So I doubt there's even rain bands underneath those clouds. The latest Jamaican Doppler radar imagery, which is actually showing 2309Z, which is around 6:09 p.m., shows that there's nothing affecting the island right now. No rainfall. The Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar's latest imagery doesn't show anything across western Hispaniola, northeastern Jamaica, but we do see some rain bands across sections of eastern Cuba, just to the west of Santiago de Cuba, just to the south of Las Tunas. And if we take a look at the Cayman radar, we're glad that they actually zoomed back in with the Cayman radar, because it was zoomed out for I don't know why, but glad to see that it's back. We can see where we had the blues represents light rainfall across northwestern Jamaica before it died down. Can see some decent rainfall across sections of south central and western Cuba today. Got on some deep convection for sure, and we see that on the infrared. Look at how the entirety of Cuba is gonna light up with thunderstorm clouds. I mean, it was crazy, and I see a lot of lightning on the other satellite imagery earlier over Cuba. They definitely got nailed today. Look at that. Crazy thunderstorms almost everywhere in Cuba got in on some of that rainfall for sure. So it makes sense as to why the Cayman radar is showing a lot of rain bands right here pushing to the south, associated with what took place in Cuba today. And we also see the rainfall across section of the Cayman Islands. Just some isolated light to moderate rainfall pushing from east to west. And if we take a look at the live camera here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, that's showing what's happening in the halfway tree area right now. It's a bit blurry but very zoomed in. You can see people walking about, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business, and that should be the order of the evening into the night. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we're 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Tuesday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 21Z on Tuesday. It was actually around 4 p.m. on Tuesday. We see Jamaica painted in some slight oranges that represents maybe up to 2 degrees Celsius above average. I know that the average temperatures for the month of August across Jamaica is around 90.9 degrees Fahrenheit. When that's converted from Fahrenheit to Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 32.72 degrees Celsius. If we're going to be receiving 2 degrees Celsius above average, it should be anywhere from 32.72 to 34.72 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Tuesday. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It states here, seek shade when outside, eat fresh, eating cold foods such as salads and fruit, rest, make sure you get enough sleep and rest if you're feeling tired, soak, take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down, and I cannot stress enough the importance of keeping hydrated throughout the day. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty, and put away those sugary drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air and relative humidity map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the right. That's the light shades of browns into the darkest shades of browns. Humidity is represented by the light shades of greens into the darkest shades of greens. And as you can see across the island tomorrow, we're painted in some light shades of browns. So it's not going to be humid, it's going to be dry, some dry air affecting us. And unfortunately, it looks like the Saharan dust should be returning as we head into August 4, August 5, and August 6. As you can see, Saharan dust represented by the greens, yellows, oranges pushing through our neck of the woods, unfortunately. So you know it's going to be bringing us some amount of hazy skies tomorrow, not to mention possibly triggering some amount of respiratory illnesses. It's maybe by around the end of the day on August 6th into August 7th that we get slight break. We still have Saharan dust stringing along, just some low end of the scale Saharan dust though by 6th into the 7th and 8th of August. So expect more Saharan dust to come, but just the low end of the scale at the end of the next 3 days and then onwards. And then clearly there's a vigorous plume pushing off of Africa and pushing through the main development region, so it's gonna be right behind all of the little breaks that we're expected to get. And if we look at the wave forecast for tomorrow across the Caribbean, we're still seeing that the highest waves should be to the north of Panama, north of Colombia, south of Haiti, south of Jamaica. That's where we have the dark blues into the pinks. That represents anywhere from 2 to 3 meter wave heights. And that's because of the strong easterly winds averaging anywhere from 20 up to 25 knots, maybe even gusting up to 30 knots. And if we zoom in on Jamaica's wave forecast for tomorrow, to the north of Portland, 1.1 meter wave height expected. South of St. Thomas, 1.6. North of St. Anne, 0.8 of a meter wave height expected. South of Clarendon, 1.7. To the north of Hanover, 0.8 of a meter wave height expected. South of Westmoreland, 1.3. And we see where that air is expected to pile up. Well, on the wind, we see why the waves are going to be like that, because of these winds. So easterly winds averaging 12 knots to the north of Portland, to the south of St. Thomas, 15 knot winds from the east, south of the Manchester and the St. Elizabeth border, 21 knot winds from the east, north of St. James, 14 knot winds from the east. And we see where that air is expected to pile up, looking like it's going to be across maybe sections of some western parishes. That is where we could have some of these low-level clouds becoming mid-level rain clouds, if not upper-level cumulonimbus clouds, to bring us that daytime heating rainfall. And the upper-level winds for tomorrow coming in from the northeast. So if we actually get some convection to fire up tomorrow, those cloud tops would be pushed off towards the southwest like this. So definitely favoring more of the activity across sections of some western parishes. And if we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS, they are both valid for 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Even although the early morning hours I saw some blues to the north of Jamaica, can't rule out some of these rain bands pushing into the north coast. Sometimes these things happen, but I saw some rain bands to the north of us on the GFS, not so much the Euro. Then the GFS showed some rain bands across far eastern Jamaica in the morning. Didn't see that on the Euro though. Euro showed more crazy rain bands to the southeast of us, but we didn't have real consensus. But where we have consensus though is for the afternoon, and the afternoon shows that there could be somewhat of rainfall affecting especially western parishes. So sections of Hanover into St. James, section of Westmoreland into northern St. Elizabeth. That's what we're seeing being shaded on both the Euro and the GFS malls. For 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time. Even although the Euro is trying to incorporate sections of St. Anne into St. Mary, Clarendon into St. Catherine, we have to work with the consensus, and the consensus or the agreement is for rainfall mainly across western Jamaica. And the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps are actually showing the rainfall that I mentioned earlier. Euro model showing rainfall right here on the north coast within the next 24 hours. I saw the rain bands on the Euro for northern Jamaica. I didn't really see it like crazy on the GFS. Who knows, we might just have another instance like the other night when we had the crazy thunderstorms in Portland, some of which affected sections of some southern parishes too. So maybe some crazy overnight rainfall in the forecast, question mark, I don't know. Either way, we don't have consensus, because clearly the GFS is not showing that crazy rainfall total like what the Euro is showing. The Euro within the next 24 hours showing that the most rainfall should be across the north coast, maybe up to 0.5 an inch of rainfall. GFS saying that the most rainfall over the next 24 hours should be across far northwestern Jamaica, maybe up to 0.45 an inch of rainfall. We'll see it actually plays out over the next over the next 24 hours. And whatever happens, we just have to take it, because we're in the month of August. And in August, across the parish of Hanover, we usually receive 150 millimeters of rainfall this month. That's about the same as 5.9 inches of rainfall, while in Westmoreland we usually receive 132 millimeters of rainfall this month. That's about the same as 5.2 inches of rainfall. And if you would like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of August or for the entire year, you can visit nomadseason.com, and that website will show that information. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go out to the next 168 hours. That stands for the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the red. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens represent millimeters of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. Alright, so we're looking at 12Z on Wednesday, because we already know what's expected on Tuesday. See some decent moisture affecting the waters to the north of Puerto Rico on the Euro model. Then on Wednesday afternoon, maybe some isolated showers across some central and western parishes. GFS showing that for Wednesday morning, maybe some isolated showers out east. Wednesday afternoon, look like some rainfall across some central and western parishes. What do we see on Thursday morning? Thursday morning, not really seeing much of anything. Thursday afternoon, looks like some rainfall across some eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Thursday morning, rainfall across northeastern Jamaica. Thursday afternoon, rainfall across some north, central, and western parishes. What do we see on Friday morning here on the Euro? Friday morning, we see some isolated showers across far eastern Jamaica. On Friday afternoon, some rainfall across eastern, northern, and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Friday morning, nothing. Friday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across the western end. What do we see on Saturday morning now? Saturday morning, we see some rainfall across far eastern Jamaica. Saturday afternoon, with some rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Saturday morning, nothing. Saturday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across some central and western parishes. And we're going to go into Sunday now. Sunday morning on the Euro, maybe some isolated showers across far eastern Jamaica. Sunday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across some central and western parishes. What does the GFS show? Sunday morning, rainfall across the far east. Sunday afternoon, maybe some rainfall across some central and western parishes. And we're about to stop it right here at the end of the 1 Jan 68 hours. So this is valid for 12Z on Monday, August 10. You can see some isolated showers across far eastern Jamaica. What does the GFS show? Not really seeing much of anything at that time. And if we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected across the Western Atlantic from now up until Monday, August 10. And we can clearly see that the most rainfall for the next 7 days should be across section of northern South America into Central America as usual. Can't rule out section of Florida into the Bahamas and Cuba, even although the Euro model is not really in agreement with that part, maybe at least up to the rays, at least an inch of rainfall up there, but they're definitely in agreement for the 2 to 5 inches of rainfall that's represented by the dark reds into the purples of pinks, especially for section of northern South America into Central America. And if we zoom in on Jamaica's rainfall totals for the next 7 days, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Monday, August 10. We can clearly see that rainfall that's expected for eastern, central, and western Jamaica. On the Euro, we see the blues into the greens into the slight yellows, but clearly the most rainfall should be across far eastern Jamaica that we see painted in yellow, so maybe up to 44 millimeters of rainfall. GFS saying that the eastern end should be getting up to at least 25 millimeters at most. It's the western end that the GFS thinks will get the most rainfall for the next 7 days, heading up into yellows and oranges, representing from 30 maybe up to 50 millimeters. We'll see it actually plays out over the next 7 days. Whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Alright, so what's happening across the rest of the basin? Not really much of anything. Just some decent thunderstorms associated with that trough off the east coast of the US down into Florida, the Bahamas, Cuba. And if we take a look at the Puerto Rican radar, what's happening down there near Puerto Rico? Not much of anything in the Leeward Islands either. If we take a look at the Barbados radar, not really seeing much of anything across Barbados. Not really seeing much of anything across the Windward Islands, but just some isolated shores to the west of Tobago right here. We take a look at the weather Doppler radar images. Look at all of the rainfall across Cuba associated with the thunderstorms that they got in on today. Also see some rainfall to the north of the ABC Islands, northwestern Venezuela section of Colombia. And if we take a look at where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both map chart here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Tuesday. We can clearly see that there's rainfall expected for sections of Florida, the Bahamas, Cuba, sections of the Cayman Islands, sections of Hispaniola, section of Puerto Rico, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, section of Trinidad and Tobago, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, into Nicaragua, Honduras, into El Salvador, Guatemala, into Belize. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances are higher for it to actually take place. Alright, so what's happening here across the Eastern Pacific? As you can see, tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, and this is the reason why nothing organized at this time. I have the leftovers of Genevieve right here still spinning away from decent thunderstorms to the far southwest of Mexico, even coastal Mexico, but nothing trying to develop to acquire the next name on the list, which is Hernan at this time. Across the Indian Ocean, no suspect areas here according to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. The code red that we had across the northern Philippines has downgraded back to a code yellow, so it only has a low tropical cyclone development chance within the next 7 days. And we're still watching Typhoon Dolphin to the southeast of Japan. You can see it right here spinning away. We have Japan right here, and if we zoom in, we can see that it's definitely still looking formidable with that eye and the deep convection spinning around it. As of right now, it is packing 95 knot winds. We know that systems that pack anywhere from 84 to 95 knot winds are classified as Category 2 hurricanes. It's a high-end Cat 2 right now, definitely closer to Cat 3 status than to Cat 1 status. It's expected to continue moving westward. As you can see, intensity gradually going down 95, 90, 90, 90, all the way up until it gets to the southern Japanese islands. 85 knot winds is what it might have when it's passing through. So it might just still be a Category 2, low-end Cat 2 at that, and then eventually make it into far eastern China. If not northern Taiwan. We see Shanghai, major city in China here. We'll see what really takes place. Will it actually make it into the southern portions right here to the south of Shanghai? Only time will tell. And I'll definitely be here to keep you posted what occurs if God spares life. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.